Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Royal Oman Police signed 7 agreements to develop land border crossings and establish police buildings in the Governorate of Buraymi. The Sultan Qaboos University applies procedures of one-stop station in registration of the 29th batch of its students. And the United States is studying how to evacuate citizens besieged by Islamic State fighters as Washington sends 130 military personnel to evaluate security developments in Iraq. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Qaboos has sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Mamnoon Hussain of Pakistan on his country's independence anniversary. Royal Oman Police signed 7 agreements for the development of land border crossings and the establishment of new police stations and facilities in the Governorate of Buraymi. The agreement came as part of a drawn plan to build and develop police buildings as to provide the best services during the upcoming period due to rapid social and economic development being witnessed by the Governorate of Buraymi. Thanks to its geographical location. The signing came during a visit paid by His Excellency Lieutenant General Hassan bin Mohsen al-Sharaiki, Inspector General of Police and Customs, to the Police Command of the Governorate of Buraymi. The agreements include the rebuilding of 3 land border crossings as per latest technology as to meet current and future requirements. Among the signed agreements were the development of Hafid border crossing in the Governorate of Buraymi and increase in its capacity with regard to finalizing custom transactions and facilitate people and goods transport and the establishment of a special task unit in the Governorate of Buraymi. The agreements also included the construction of a new Mashahada police station and police service building in the same wilaya. Sultan Qaboos University continues registration procedures for its 29th batch student, which amounted to 3,260 male and female students. These processes take place at the one-stop station held at the Cultural Center in the university, which facilitates and speeds up the registration process. It also aims to acquaint students with services produced by the university. Students express their happiness and honor to join this well-established university, promising to exert all efforts in their study. The Gulf Cooperation Council countries' social protection workshop started in the Governorate of Dhofar under the auspices of His Excellency Abdullah bin Aqil al-Ibrahim, advisor to the Minister of State and Governor of Dhofar. It aimed to acquaint specialists and ministries and social insurance authorities in the GCC countries to recommend international work organization with social protection. The 2-day workshop will tackle a number of topics and work papers, namely social insurance law weaknesses and others, with the participation of a number of specialists from the GCC countries. It will also review challenges facing social protection in addition to rights and duties of manpower working in the private sector. His Excellency Sayyid Mohammed bin Sultan Al Busaidi, Minister of State and Governor of Dhofar, received in his office today participants in the program Developing Work System and Improving Dealing with Others at the Public Prosecution at Gulf Cooperation Council countries. He welcomed the guests. The program is being organized by the Public Prosecution in cooperation with the Public Administrative Institute with the participation of more than 30 specialists. The 18th Plain is the most crowded area during the Kharif season in the Governorate of Dhofar. The traffic movement in this area faces many difficulties due to increased number of vehicles and delay in completion of some projects. Meanwhile, some drivers use other random roads to reach their destination that leads to some accidents. The Royal Oman Police is playing a great role to facilitate traffic movement in the area. Some visitors of the area expressed that it needs some road development projects so as to avoid such traffic jams in the future. Stay tuned, because still to come in our news bulletin. A 5.1 magnitude earthquake in Ecuador killed many people and triggered a landslide.
من هنا تبدأ أسطر الحكاية. تقاليدها راسخة كالجبال، أصالتها مضرب مثل في كل مكان. بساطتها ليس لها مثيل، لا حدود لكرمها. حاضرها مشرق متجدد. مهرجان الصلالة السياحي 2014 من 30 من يوليو إلى 6 من سبتمبر.
Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Washington announced that it is studying how to evacuate citizens besieged by Islamic State fighters known as Daesh on the mountain of Sinjar. United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon urged Iraqi security forces against intervening in the country's political process, where heightened tensions coupled with the current security threat from the armed group, the Islamic State, could lead the country into even deeper crisis. The UN chief said that he was profoundly dismayed by the barbaric acts carried out by IS fighters. Ban described the Yazidis' plight on the mountain as dire. He also underscored that the threat IS fighters pose to Iraq, Syria, and the entire region. U.S. Defense Secretary Chuck Hagel said that the Obama administration has sent about 130 additional military personnel to Iraq, and Washington seeks to help Iraq to contain the threat posed by hardline militants from the Islamic State. Hagel was speaking to troops at Camp Pendleton in California.
This is a government that has to be inclusive. It needs to be a unity government that shares power, which was the intended purpose of the Constitution they wrote. That hasn't happened the last 5 years, and President Obama knows it, and all of our leaders do, and how valuable what you do. I would also say it follows the criteria that President Obama has made very clearly, that this is not any extension of any role other for the United States other than to find ways to assist and help advise the Iraqi security forces, which we have been doing. The President has made very clear we're not going back into Iraq in any of the same combat mission dimensions that we once were in Iraq. Very specifically, this is not a combat boots on the ground operation. We're not going to have that kind of operation. Committed to their involvement in these airdrops, the French, and because of that, Iraq is in to their involvement in these airdrops.
Nouri al-Maliki said the appointment of Haider al-Abadi to replace him as Iraq's prime minister violated the constitution and had no value. In a televised speech, Maliki said everyone should accept a pending federal court ruling on an objection he filed yesterday against Abadi's appointment, and said his government would continue until a final decision was made. Abadi wants swift endorsements from the United States and Iran, as he called on political leaders to end feuds that have allowed Islamist militants to seize a third of the country. Palestinian and Israeli negotiators resumed their talks in Cairo in pursuit of lasting truce in their third and final day of ceasefire. Chief Palestinian delegate negotiator Azan al-Ahmed expressed his hope for reaching an agreement before 12 midnight, as well as two sides abide by the truce, as negotiators in Cairo are trying their best through Egyptian mediator to reach to a common ground between the two differing sides. Palestinians are holding to lifting embargo of Gaza, as Israelis demanding security to disarming Hamas. An Italian journalist, 3 Palestinian bomb disposal experts and 2 other people were killed in Gaza today when unexploded munitions blew up. The explosion occurred in Beit Lahia, a town in the northern Gaza Strip that had been the scene of fierce fighting between Israeli forces and Palestinians during a month-long war that coincided with displaced Palestinians' return to their houses amidst anticipation for results of Cairo talks. Meanwhile, Israeli tanks and soldiers were dispatched closer to border with Gaza by the nearing of last hours of announced ceasefire between Palestinians and the Israelis. Defense Minister of Israel, Moshe Ya'alon, asked the army to be ready for any military operations in Gaza. Former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak denied in court on Wednesday ordering the killing of protesters during 2011 uprising that ended his 30-year rule. Mubarak was sentenced to life in prison last year after being convicted on the same charge, but an appeal court ordered a retrial. He was released from jail and is being kept under house arrest in a military hospital in Madi, a Cairo suburb. The verdict is scheduled to be issued on September 27th. Mubarak, who is on trial with his sons and other senior officials, denied separate charges of corruption. Prime Minister Arseniy Yatsenyuk says that Ukraine will accept foreign humanitarian aid only from the International Committee of the Red Cross. Interior Minister Arsen Avakov says that a Russian aid convoy en route to Ukraine won't be let through. Russia says that the convoy, which was being taken by 280 trucks carrying about 2,000 tons of water, baby foods and other foods. 2 people were killed in Ecuador after a 5.1 magnitude earthquake struck near the capital of Quito, with 8 others wounded and rescue workers still seeking to free others trapped after the tremor. The National Risk Control Agency said the earthquake triggered a landslide at a quarry in the Quito area that killed 2 people and worked there, adding that firemen were searching for 3 others. The second death took place when a 4-year-old boy was killed in another part of the city when sacks of rice fell on top of him. Now for the general weather forecast. Cloudy skies will prevail over the coastal areas of the Governorate of Dhofar and nearby mountains with chances of intermittent drizzle. Rest of the south-north will have clear to partly cloudy skies with chances of rain over the parts of Hajar Mountains. Winds will be southerly to southwesterly moderate to active along the coast of Arabian Sea, while it will be southerly to southeasterly light to moderate in the rest of the south-north. Seas along the coastal areas of Arabian Sea will be rough with a maximum wave height of 4.5 meters, and along the rest of the coast it will be moderate with a maximum wave height of 2 meters. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. The Royal Oman Police signed 7 agreements to develop land border crossings and establish police buildings in the Governorate of Brahimi. The Sultan Qaboos University applies procedures of one-stop station in registration of the 29th batch of its students. And the United States is studying how to evacuate citizens besieged by Islamic State's fighters, as Washington sent 130 military personnel to evaluate security developments in Iraq. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studio, thank you for watching and good night.